In this video, we're going to explore two more differentiation rules, the product rule and the quotient rule. First one we encounter is the product rule, and this essentially says if we have the product of two quantities and we want to compute their derivative and they're both functions of x presumably, or some other functions of a single independent variable. This says we leave the first alone and multiply by the derivative of the second, and then add to that the second times the derivative of the first function. And in the notes you may see it, or you may run across it in other places as the reverse order. It doesn't much matter. The multiplication is commutative and addition is commutative, meaning that you can switch the order among these two, and then both of those quantities. It doesn't much matter. The mnemonic that I learned when I first learned the product rule was 1d2, so the first one times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first, so plus 2d1. Okay, and it stuck with me. If it helps you, great. If you're a formula person and just need to remember the formula, write it down, great. So we're going to do the product rule with an example here. So this is our example function, and so if I compute the derivative of this, f prime, okay, this says, well, I need to do the first one, so leave the first one, tangent, and then I'm going to multiply by the derivative of e to the x squared, and then plus, leave the second one, e to the x squared, and then I'm going to multiply by the derivative of tangent. Okay? So, let's see, continuing this. Tangent of x, I just recopy that. And now, technically we haven't learned how to do this, but in the formula sheet that was given to you for that lists the derivative of e to the x, or really any exponential expression, we can actually compute this now. In Module 3C, we'll see the chain rule, which is technically what you need to use to obtain the derivative here. But this says, okay, you're going to recopy e to the x squared and then multiply by whatever the derivative of the exponent is. So the derivative of x squared is just 2x. Alright, so that's all done. Now I have to add that to e to the x squared times, and then the derivative of tangent via the formula sheet is just secant x, or secant squared x. Okay, and that's pretty much the product rule in a nutshell. 1d2 plus 2d1. Second rule, quotient rule. Okay, and so we have two functions divided by one another. They don't need to be polynomial expressions, as you can see down here. Just some functions of x, or of at least one independent variable. And this says you're going to take the denominator, multiply by the derivative of the numerator, and then subtract from that the numerator times the derivative of the denominator, all over the denominator squared. And again, the mnemonic I learned for this was low, d high, so derivative of the high, the numerator, minus high, d low, derivative of the lower one, all over low squared. Again, like I said before, if you're a formula person, great. The mnemonic helped me, so feel free to use it if you wish. Alright, and so we have h of t is equal to natural log of t over 2 minus t. And again, this domain restriction is, and actually I should probably add that t should be greater than 0 too for natural log. So it's greater than 0 and not equal to 2, just so that we have a well-defined function and we can find the derivative. Okay, so finding h prime. Alright, so let's see. That is just going to be the low, so I recopy the lower function, times the derivative of the high part, so I'm just going to write natural log of t prime, minus, and then natural log of t, so I just recopy that one, times 2 minus t prime, all over 2 minus t squared. Alright, now let's go through and we wrote it out. Let's go through and actually compute these things. So 2 minus t, that just stays the same. And then the derivative of natural log of t, we found in this module that this is actually just 1 over t. And then we'd multiply by the derivative of t, but that's just 1, so I'm not going to write that. And let's see, I have minus the natural log of t, and then the derivative of this is just minus 1. All over the quantity 2 minus t squared. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to leave this because it won't result in any significant simplifications, and so it's not really worth any further work. Oftentimes, you should carry this out, and I believe in the notes there is an example that actually goes through and does the simplification, and it results in a nicer rational function. So just know that you can simplify it if you wish, but in this case, it will not lead to any significant result. Alright, so brief rundown of the product and quotient rule. There are many tutorials online if you want to go through and do some more examples. Again, one of the textbooks that we have is technically an online database, the Applied Calculus website, and they actually have tutorials and more example videos that you can go to. So please reference those as needed.